how to put English on the basketball.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of With the English, episode 15. 15, Glenn.
Yep. It's the Austin Reeves episode,
Just said
AR-15.
this.
Yep.
I knew you were going to do that. Yeah, episode 15.
Yep.
We haven't got a guest. We had a really good guest last week. We had some good guests, and this week is just back to me and you.
Just back to me and you. Back to me. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired after staying up last night watching a bit of historical
Yeah.
greatness.
Yeah. I've got a cold coming on, but as you mentioned, history. There's someone who isn't cold right now is Joel Embiid, who is
And you love your little sort of let's say something. It was black eye, now it's a
segments.
cold. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Segments, mate.
I
Segments. I'm
know.
learning.
Okay.
Media
Cool.
training.
I'll let you off. I'll let you off because we're going to talk about Embiid. But yeah, hopefully your cold
Yes.
doesn't
Let's.
linger because I don't want it to affect the podcast this week or next week.
Mm.
Yeah, Embiid. What a game! I know people are going to say it's against the Spurs, but you still got to do it. You still got to put those points up, and yeah, what a great performance by him. It was. I didn't want him to go back in the game, to be honest with you, because the game was quite wrapped up, and then the game got really close because I mean Daniel House got booed at one point because he got passed the ball, and instead of passing it to Embiid with about 8-9 seconds left on the shot clock, he shot it, and then my fellow Philadelphian fans decided to boo him. So yeah, they got the message to give the ball to Embiid at every opportunity. So he did. Kind of reminded me of Kobe's last game when they just kept giving Kobe the ball and he dropped 70, and they just kept giving it to him and giving it to him, and you just couldn't stop him even though you knew the ball was going to him. So it was great to watch, and you know there was only 20 points that were free throws. The rest were field goals, so people can't just say that he's a field goal merchant, free throw merchant.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've got to give him his flowers.
Hmm.
Uh, you would think, because I give you some shit in the group chat sometimes about Embiid, that I would mention the free throws, I'd mention the opposition, but it doesn't matter what the opposition is in the NBA, to score 70 points, that's mental.
It is, and I think you know the fact is to say. I said this to my son earlier. We were watching the Suns and Bulls game, and Durant got was amazing that game. I think he got like 43, 46 points, and normally we'd be talking about how great that game was and how great he was. We're not. I know Cat dropped 60, but his team lost, so it would kind of be an on the fence
Yeah, but the,
conversation.
the difference was Embiid gets 70, but didn't stop the way Sixers play. I know you were saying that towards the end, like
Yeah, once
they
he got to
wanted the ball
60,
in
they were like,
Embiid's
right, he's going to
hands.
get the record. So like they fell in the
But
ball once he got to
essentially,
60.
Embiid's your star player. You play for Embiid, right?
Yes.
Whereas from what I've watched and what I've heard about the Cat 63 is that they just Timberwolves just went off the way they play and were just trying to constantly feed Cat the ball and then lost focus about winning the game. And that which reminds me of the time when LeBron got the record. We were losing that game
Yeah.
and they kept playing for LeBron and it wasn't the way to go. We were playing the occasion and not the game, and we ended up losing that game. Um, that's a great LeBron breaks the record, but the main thing I took from that was that we lost the game and we were in a bad position at the time. So, for Timberwolves to, yeah, great cat, great 63, but no one's going to remember it when you also lost the game
Mm,
to a Charlotte Hornet team as well. So
this is true.
people can people can mention that Embiid did against Spurs. I like to joke about the fact that Embiid likes to up his averages against the lesser teams, but yeah, 70's a bit different to a 50 piece. Like that 70's crazy, and he's going up against one of the generational talents that's going to be in this league.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit disappointing in ways because Wemby didn't really want to go at Embiid, which I get because he's a young kid. But I thought, I remember when Embiid first entered, he wanted to go at the big guys, and obviously he got shut down a few times. But he wanted Wemby and him didn't really go up against each other much, and when he did, it was really fun. You know, Wemby won some battles, Embiid won some battles. I mean, obviously Embiid, you know, one more than he needed because Wemby obviously needs to put that muscle on and then needs to adjust because that'll be the next step for him. But it was good watching him, and obviously the clip of MB before the game, like looking at him like making a bit of a joke. So
Oh
yeah, it was great.
yeah.
It was great. It was great to watch. It was a great game to watch, and you know, Wemby's definitely worth staying up for. Like if you're a Spurs fan, UK fan, I can't recommend staying up enough to watch that live. Like watching greatness if you can watch it live is great. Like I'll never ever forget watching the Kobe game, like the third and fourth quarter of Kobe's last game, because it was either that or watch Golden State. I'll never forget it. It was that or Golden State. Watch Golden State beat the record or equal the record of the Bulls, or watch Kobe's last game. And I put on Kobe's last game and just like woke up at 4:35 a.m. to catch the end of it. It's just like there's moments you just want to watch, and obviously you don't know when a regular season thing's going to happen, but like that was great last night. And then tracking the cat thing as well post game, and yeah, like you say, and seeing what happened, it was good. You've got to be special to take away from the fact that the Suns came back and won, and like I say, someone like Kevin Durant, who's probably a top 5 superstar, well known, like media whore, attention whore for the media to grab and put on a headline to overthrow him being like one of the number 1 names on the ticker. He had to do something special, and he did. So yeah, it was great to watch.
Unfortunately for Embiid, mate, people are always going to shit on him because for a number of reasons. One, the flopping, people
Yeah,
don't like.
which he does do too much of.
Two, two, you know, the amount of free throws he gets,
People just got to stop
and
fouling him though.
that is true. I'd say that when people moan that Lakers get a lot of free throws, it's like, well, don't foul then.
Yeah,
Um, and he hasn't been past the second round. So I'm thinking
indeed.
until he gets past this, you know, I remember when we had Ben on, I said it's a bit like the monkey on the back, but you know, Ben put it that, you know, it already is on your back. And I guess Embiid's not going to get taken as seriously as Jokic does until maybe you reach the Eastern Conference Finals or maybe the finals, and you know, I think Embiid can lead you guys to the finals. Sometimes it's a bit of bad luck. Sometimes it's just matchups and the rest of the team, and you know, a lot of stuff goes into winning the championship.
100%. And I said to you before the call, on the call pre-call, like 2 or 3 seasons, I believe Embiid's done everything he can. It's not his fault. There's been some freakish stuff, you know, Fultz breaking his face, you know, Ben Simmons not dunking, Kawhi's quadruple doink, but there has been games and series as well where he's fallen apart. And I suppose I know I know this wasn't a topic, but obviously it's happened just before we jumped on. But I do feel more confident if the Bucks do hire Doc Rivers as a coach that we might get out of the East. So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
sign.
they've sacked their coach Andre Griffin, and I know there was a lot of, you know, I saw a lot of stuff between Bucks fans that were complaining a lot about Andre Griffin. So is it results based? I don't think so because they're still second in the league and figuring things out with Dame. Maybe something. Maybe it's another Ime Udoka situation. Who knows?
We'll find out soon.
We will
That's how
we
it
will
goes out.
find that soon. But yeah, it might help you. It might hurt you. It depends who they get in. To be honest. But yeah, leading on from Embiid, obviously I said to you I want to talk about, you know, big men, and a point I wanted to discuss was, do we think that the game is reverting back to the emphasis on big men, and a championship team running through a big man? Obviously, the last decade or so has been quite guard heavy, and obviously the Curry era of constantly shooting from the perimeter has changed the game and changed how, I guess, young players, you know, learn their game. So do you think it's reverting back to big man bully ball?
I think purely because now the big man is not you know, you think last week when we were talking about the Suns, Stoudemire, I remember him coming into the league. It was like the domination of him, Howard, Dwight Howard, that type of player back then. As we come towards the end of it, it's kind of gone now. And like when we drafted Jahlil Okafor, like I remember people saying he was designed for 90s basketball, but he's not designed for
I'm going to
modern day.
assume you pronounce that correctly because I don't know.
Stoudemire. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to pronounce, but yeah. So yeah, no, I think now it's not just about rebounds. It's not about that one or two freakish player like Shaq, and then the rest of them just doing and like I say, maybe Dwight and maybe Stoudemire. But we it's not just about, you know, everyone else will have a 10 and 10 center or 12 and 10 center, like sort of return it, and then you'd have the top two or three that would get you, you know, your 20 and 10. There's a lot of centers or power forward slash centers because again it's kind of, you know, positionlessy type basketball where they shoot threes, you know, get assists.
Yeah, yeah. We said this before we jumped on that. You know, the whole makeup of a big man is completely changed, and they're almost like hybrids now. Like you say, it's almost becoming positionless basketball. We've got these big men that are good around the rim, good in the paint, and then they can stretch the floor as well. It's insane. And if we look at the contending teams, start off with the East, Boston. Maybe they're a bit of an anomaly because their star player is not a big man. Obviously, they got KP who's playing pretty damn well for them, but essentially, the emphasis for them is Tatum and Brown. But Milwaukee, I've got Giannis, and I know that he's not a center, but he's a pretty big dominating man, and he obviously plays with Brook Lopez. Obviously, yourselves with Embiid, and then if you look in the West, Minnesota, I've got two big men essentially, Cat and Gobert. They've taken a while to figure that out, having a couple of big men on the floor at the same time. Cat's reverted to being a forward rather than at the center. OKC have obviously progressed recently with Chet being out there now, and Jalen Williams, who's been a fantastic player this year. And then let's not forget who the current champions are in Jokic. So do you think in future drafts in that, obviously Wemby was last year's draft, our team's going to start looking at big men for their picks, for their lottery picks?
I think, you know, it's a copycat league, right? So the reason why the bigs are doing really well at the moment as well and standing out more is because everyone tried copying the Golden State Warriors and went small. And Charles Barkley, I remember him saying, like, if you had a team with the bigs, you're going to destroy them. And they did. Unless they were having a bad off night of shooting, because they were so consistent with it, peak Clay, peak Curry, and then even Harrison Barnes and people like that. I remember them being like super good players, and then when they left, they didn't quite fit the model, and people were just trying to pick these small players, but you had to get it right, and Golden State did, and everyone tried to copy that, and it's not quite turned. But everyone's gone back to those fundamentals of if you can pick a generational big man, then take him. Don't skip him. People are skipping big men. Yeah. I think wing player is still the most important. If you can find a wing player, wing players have always generally been the sort of superstars of the league. Since the early ABA NBA days. So the first real superstar in basketball was Dr. J, and then Magic Johnson technically could have been a small forward / power forward. Larry Bird as well. So forwards have always been quite important. But yeah, I think the big man's, I think you're going to see more being picked in the first, sort of first 10 picks now, rather than the big man's being picked in the 20s, 30s, or into the second round. But there's going to be more of them. And I think you look at it, they're going to inspire other people as well. Like a lot of these big men are foreign to the NBA. So like, European, African. So those countries that it's like, oh, if I'm 6'10", 7 foot, and I'm French, I can play in the NBA. Or if I'm
to be fair,
Serbian or
that's a good
Cameroon.
point. There's a lot of decent big men coming from overseas, and I look at Sengun for Houston. I think he's almost like a protege of Jokic, and has the potential to even be better than him. He's only like 20 years old. He was like the Turkish League MVP at 18, and you've just seen him progress year on year, and he's sort of copying that sort of Jokic model. And it's like, who's the next one? I mean, Wemby's going to be
Wemby and Chet,
a
obviously,
star. Yeah, and
yeah,
Chet as well. Like he's got the skills of a guard. I think people laugh that is he a big man because he might be tall, but he needs a lot of muscle added into him, or a bit of fat added to him, because he's just going to get bullied by if he goes up against Gobert and maybe AD if we get to the playoffs in a 7-game series, he's not going to have fun at all. So he needs to fill out a bit. But
yeah. I
you
just
look
had to
at
Google his weight: 94 kilos, 207 pounds.
yeah, it's not great. But you look at the teams that down the bottom um, of our conference. Take obviously Spurs at the equation because they're just a Wemby's got no pieces surrounding him, to be honest. But Portland, Ayton thinks he's better than what he is, and has shown that he just ain't got that potential. Memphis haven't missing Steven Adams, and he's not a superstar big man, but he's a very important piece to them.
Yes.
Golden State is small. Houston have dropped off a little bit, but I think that's just because they're a young team that have got a lot to learn. Utah don't really have a big man as such. Um, Lakers are underperforming because AD's having a monster season and it's not reflecting in the games in the standings. Dallas are small when they're dropping off. So I think when it comes to getting through to the conference finals and that, they're going to be dominated by big men, I think personally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the one thing that Dallas have got, and some of those other teams that have it, is that, you have got a very big, oversized guard. That can,
Yeah.
so you have got that, and he's a bit of weight behind him as well. He's not like he's a skinny. What is he, 6'6", 6'7", Nuka? I guess I can't remember his exact height, but yeah, it's not a usual 6-foot guard, 6'2", 6'3". So you need to have big-ish players. I think that now, whereas before it was all about dynamic of being speedy, quick, trying to find that Curry or whatever, look like a bit like Luka being that slow down, bigger guy. So I think it covers all positions really. That it's not just about, apart from on the wing where I think you do have to be athletic. I think
I
even
tell you what,
guard.
I'd obviously just mentioned Dallas. I'll tell you who I really like actually is Derek Lively
Okay, why is that?
for Dallas. I think he's been a good pick for Dallas and sort of gone under the radar. I've obviously dipped in and out of Dallas games, and he always seems to have a good performance in his rookie year. He's a big guy. He's 7'1". He's only 19 years old, and they seem to play through him and Luca quite a bit. To be honest,
I
Luca
didn't
could
know he
always
was
find
7.
him.
Wow, I thought he was. I
Yeah.
didn't know he was 7-1. I've only seen one game against them this year, so that may be why. But yeah,
He's probably one of those players you don't realize how big they are. I remember when I wasn't really following Wendell Carter Jr. and I thought he was a guard for some reason. And then until I actually watched a game of him playing, I was like, oh damn, he's a center. I don't know
I
why I
mean,
thought he was a guard, to be honest.
it's very misperception. Like when I met TJ McConnell and I was next to him, I thought he was like similar height to me, but he still had like 4 inches. And I know I'm short. I'm only 5'6.5", but he's 6 foot and he's still like towering above me. But then
Yeah, well,
on the
that's
court, he looks
perception on
tiny.
the TV.
Yeah,
Like Trey Young looks about 5'2" on the court,
but if we
but
sat
even he's
next
like
to
six.
him,
Yeah, he's like 6'2" or something, 6'3". It's just ridiculous. And I think with Wemby, sorry, going back to Wemby, BJ Armstrong makes a good point that you better beat him now, because if you don't beat him now in the league in a few years' time, he's going to be the one to beat.
Embiid did touch on that as well. Embiid said that Embiid is going to be a problem for people as time goes on. So yeah, he's got the respect from his big men, fellow big men.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just, can Spurs get the right pieces for him?
That's
Because at
it.
the moment he's a bit on a deserted line. I did notice that Pop restricts his minutes quite a bit.
He
He plays
does.
mainly under 30 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like he played more than that last night. I didn't check his final stats, but yeah, he did take him out at random times as well. But we took Embiid out when he went out as well, so it helped us out a bit. Like when we took Embiid out, he seemed to take him out as well. But yeah, I don't know why he does. I think it's. I mean, I'm not going to question the greatest coach of my fandom. Obviously, I was a bit too young to fully remember Phil Jackson's sort of greatness. I just remember his terrible time in New York. But yeah, and I caught the end of the Lakers one. That's how I got into basketball. But yeah, I don't remember him being. I didn't obviously watch every game because it was just watching what you could on Sky the next day in the UK. It wasn't a league pass thing back in the early 2000s. So yeah, I'm not going to question.
Who was apart from Embiid? Who's your favourite Sixers big man?
Of all time that I've not necessarily saw play live, but the highlights I've seen of is obviously Wilt looked exciting, but Moses Malone.
Okay, yeah,
And then the one that
take
I
it way
saw,
back.
a bit of a random one, you wouldn't know him, is a guy called Sam Dallenberg, because I saw him play and I just liked his name in the arena. It was like Sammy Dallen Dolt and done the Simpsons Dolt thing. And I was like, oh, they do these little gimmicks with the players' names. And he was the only one that had like a cool one because it was like the Homer Simpson doll. So I was like, I like him for that really. So, but no, from ability perspective, no, I liked definitely liked watching Moses Malone highlights, watching us on getting on YouTube and watching all the history. What about you? Is it Kareem?
I think it's obvious with the Lakers, isn't it? I watched a lot of documentaries. I watched a lot of old stuff on YouTube and the rest of it. And yeah, Kareem was just a different league, wasn't he? And obviously Shaq's the most dominant that he could just bully anyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I love Shaq's bullying. I think it's great.
like
Just watch.
I think Shaq deep down knows he's not the best big man there's ever been, but when he uses that term dominant, he was the most dominant ever.
He was, and I think him and Wilt were definitely up there. Wilt was up against weaker players, but the classiest person, and they said it, and it hurts to say it 'cause he's a Celtic, but like Bill Russell was definitely the classiest. Every interview you ever watched, every time you heard him speak and stuff like that. So obviously, I loved watching some of his highlights as well, because I was trying to really learn the NBA when I first got into it properly. Back in 2007, 8, and watch all these like old shows and stuff. And he definitely was a name that popped up, and I liked watching. So I do obviously respect those sort of players as well. So yeah, big men are coming, maybe coming, and and obviously Charles Oakley, because of the surname being similar to mine. Patrick Ewing. There's been some
Yeah,
great ones, and even though they've been at rivals, you still like that dominance to watch.
yeah. Speaking of big men from the past, that leads me on
Yeah.
to your favourite part of our podcast is pronouncing players' names. I've got two for you,
Okay.
and they should actually be easy
Okay.
because one, you should have heard their name quite a lot, and two, I've already said his name today. They're both Houston Rockets related. So the first one is also known as the Dream.
Yeah, Hakeem.
Yeah.
Elijah one.
Close, Elijah one.
Elijah one. There we go. Yeah.
That's quite a good effort. And their current center, and future star, all-star at Houston. I've mentioned him in the episode.
I'm not even gonna try and attempt it.
Mr. Alperen Sengun.
What?
Alperen Sengun.
Alperum. I can't even say it.
Alperen. That's fine. That's why we have this bit of fun, isn't it?
No,
You
it's
love
not.
this
It's not.
bit. You love
No, I
it.
don't. I don't. Alperin Sengun.
Yeah.
Alperin.
You're going to
No.
hear it a lot, I think, because I think he's going to take Houston places in the next few years. So,
Well, like I said, I mean he's doing all right. But like I said, when I watched him play, I didn't think he's got to put some weight
I'm
on.
going to put it out there. I'll say this now. He will be better than Jokic.
Oh, there you go. Done one of your own X's and O's.
Well, so
So
we start them then.
yeah, we will. I'm just setting them up. So let me get my glasses on as well because I've written on a Word document. So
Oh, very professional.
there we go. So you may or may not be aware, but there's a team, let's see if you know, who are unbeaten in several games at the moment and slowly climbing up the Eastern Conference. Do you know who that is?
I'm going to assume you're talking about the Cavs.
I am. So my question to you is, the Cavs will have a first round home court playoff game. So they'll finish top 4 in the East.
That's finished up for. Oh, that's tough. The reason I find this tough is because they're playing really well without Mobley and Garland,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's due to because they've moved Donovan to point guard, um because with Mitchell and BJ, I'm sorry, I mentioned it this morning, with Mitchell and Garland together, it's a very small backcourt. So how does that? What happens when those two return? I'm gonna say X. But I'm on the fence. But yeah, X, and I'm gonna say fourth is gonna go to New York.
Oh, wow.
I
I'm
think
glad you
because
mentioned New York.
go on.
It's a similar sort of question. So there's been some trades involving the teams around the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
So the latest trade was today. Rose or maybe last night. Rozier going to the Heat.
Yes, that was today. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
today.
So following the Rozier trade, the Miami Heat will finish above a fellow tradesman team in recent weeks in the New York Knicks, and another team that's been trading in recent weeks, the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, well, based on my previous answer, it's got to be X, right? Because I think New York are gonna finish fourth. I don't think Heat will finish above Pacers either. I think once Halliburton's back,
Okay.
um, they hit a bit of form again. I'd probably say Heat are going to finish again in like sort of eighth, ninth, and then Jimmy Butler will decide to start playing to his full potential, and they'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it does feel like
That's
that.
how it
Hopefully
apparently
not.
works.
Yeah.
That's the formula. But yeah, I don't think Terry Rozier moves the needle. Like
No, I
good
think
good pickup,
he's a great
but
scorer. But him and Herrera, I can't even say his name. Herrera on the pitch, on the court at the same time, both can't really defend. So yeah,
yeah.
what are you gonna do? Uh, I've been very smart with this and interlinked. So now I'm going to talk about trades that haven't happened. The Bulls, after the meltdown last night, will. There's been loads of rumours between the Bulls players, and there's been Hornet players now being linked. The Bulls will offload before the Hornets. So who do you think's going to give him first? Basically, I think the Bulls look like an absolute meltdown, and they need to do it ASAP.
Yeah, I'd say I think maybe what will prolong Charlotte is they've got these young
No,
potential stars, and some part of me thinks do Charlotte even care about
yeah,
doing well
there's no
because
expectations really, is there?
they're just a bit of a nothing team in the league, to be honest. I think if there was a relegation in basketball, they would have been relegated
They would have.
years ago because it's just a bit irrelevant. Yeah, I think that's an easy O. Chicago will press the button. But they've had an upturn in form, to be honest. It's probably delayed their decision because if they
Yes.
carried on that poor form previously in the season, then I think they would have pressed the button ages ago.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Wow, that's the X's and O's, and that's the end of episode 15.
AR 15.
I'm not having that.
Look,
If
we've done a couple of weeks. No Laker talk, no Austin Reeves talk,
uh,
no LeBron talk. Maybe a couple of mentions of LeBron, but I'll try my best here not to talk about said Lakers.
we're going to ask people to
Well,
like and
no,
subscribe now, and they've probably had the Austin Reeve thing and gone, actually, no. So hopefully they
yeah,
don't, and they like, subscribe, and follow us on our Twitter account, which is what, Glenn?
at With the English One. Why is it one, Sam?
Because we're the only podcast called With the English.
We are.
Thanks for watching. And like we said, like, subscribe, and follow us, even if Glenn's awful jokes and awful sort of shenanigans with his eye and now his cold has put you off.
Cliches, yeah. We'll see what happens next week.